The following is a presentation of Playfly Sports Properties and Michigan State Sports Properties. Welcome, everybody, again on a live episode for This is Sparta. I'm your host, Jason Strayhorn, along with my co-host, Otis Wiley Jehuu Caulcrick, and special guest Corey Robinson for 247 Sports right here, because today, as you know, is a special day, signing day. It's been going on. We brought you a few of the picks, the majority of the picks that Michigan State had already signed. There's been some more activity. We want to break down what's been going on and the backstory to a lot of these talented recruits that have been signed and coming into East Lansing by talking with the expert Corey Robinson. But first, Otis, I've heard that there was more picks coming in.
Oh, you heard? You heard?
That's what I heard.
Oh, okay. Let's see. All right. Oh. Pause. There we go.
There it is. What does that mean, Jehuu?
The pick is in.
Absolutely.
The pick is in. And we're picking up where we left off earlier today. As you know, we came on live at about noon, and there's been some activity. And since then, Chance Rucker has been signed out of Denton, Texas, a defensive back, adding to a more talent to that already talented class in the defensive secondary, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about in this past season, and I'm so interested in seeing what Corey got to say about all our guys. Like, I'm just going to give a little bit, but we think about this past season, our weakness was our DBs, and it hurts me to say it because I'm a DB myself, clearly, but we were not as strong as we should have been with our fearless leader, Xavier Henderson, going down. And then you had a lot of people from basically manning up. Who can we trust to go throw out there and play and make some plays? And, you know, it was just a tough season for our secondary. And so we saw some glimpses of our guys playing, great ball when it came to, playing against Wisconsin, but we saw what we needed. And Mel and Coach Barnett have teamed up to go get some dogs, man. And, anybody come out of Texas, I was born and raised in Austin, Texas, but I am a Flint guy. But, like, balling out, DBs coming out of Texas can ball out. And so I'm looking forward to seeing this guy in the green and white. I'm surprised that, North Texas, Denton is right there in North Texas, and that American Athletic Conference is, with SMU and TCU, you think about what he chose to come to Michigan State and East Lansing. So very, very excited about this one here. And I'm interested to see what Corey has to say about this kid here.
Yeah, I think he's the guy that we kind of tabbed as like the most underrated back in the class, maybe one of the more underrated kids in the class. I think that's who Justin actually selected was him. But yeah, he's a 6'1" cornerback. He's got good size. He's going to play corner here, but if he needed to, he could slide back to safety because he's got that physicality that you want. As Otis kind of alluded to, the talent that he's playing against there in Denton is some of the best talent in Texas, which means it's some of the best talent in the country. So yeah, he's definitely one that I have high hopes for out of the class at the defensive back position for sure. So I definitely echo what you're saying.
Hey, Corey is the guy. And if Corey's, is on with this kid, that means that's a good pick. And, all I can say for that, bringing in a bunch of DBs there, I like that. I like that strategy because it's going to turn to that survival of the fittest. It's going to turn to, when Vernon Gold, when Will Golston was on here and he talked about, those guys, they pushed each other. And that's what I'm hoping that the secondary room does, is continue to push each other. And what will happen is, you start to see the cream rise to the top, and the ones that fall off, they'll fall off, and that's how, college football is now. But the more guys you bring in, the more competition that's going to be in that defensive backs room. And, you can't harp enough on the fact that they have a very good coach in Coach Barnett that's going to be teaching them and showing them the ropes.
All right. And Michigan State beat out the Sooners of Arkansas for this particular kid here. Baylor, California, and Colorado came in late after Chance Rucker, a very talented defensive back. And another pick is definitely coming in. We have ESP. How does that happen? Wow. Michigan State, man, they're on top of everything right now. Again, out of the transfer portal, big defensive lineman, Dre Butler from Liberty in Covington, Georgia.
Yeah, this is a guy that, we talk about the D-line. Look, this is, in my opinion, we have truly, I say, give us the A+ when it comes to getting some dogs on the D-line. Like we talked about, when you win in the trenches on both offense and defense, great things happen to the program and to the team. And so we saw that, what we had this past season, just opened up the gates, kind of exposed us to what we thought we had and we didn't have. And so hit the recruiting trail and got some dogs. And this guy is a man beast, man child, man. And, playing down there for that 1 year and then coming back up here, it's, I'm hoping that he definitely embraces the culture, and knowing that he's playing for a great coach who is all about culture and making sure our guys are playing as a team. And I think he fits very well with putting some speed out there on that front line here.
Yeah, I think he was a big pickup. And it's funny, I was sitting at home yesterday, I think, during kind of doing signing day stuff or whatever, and I decided to take a break, and I turned on the Liberty Bowl game, not really thinking about anything. And as soon as I turned it on, Dre made a tackle, Dre Butler. So I'm like, oh, that's a sign that he's coming here, which I kind of I already knew that, but I'm like, oh, that's a good sign. But yeah, he's a big kid, 6'5", 300 pounds already, really long arms. That's what you're going to notice with a lot of these defensive linemen that they're bringing in, is not just the height and weight is different, the size of them, just like the length. Their arms are all long. They move really well. He played at Auburn down in the SEC for 2 years, and he saw the field and played for them, then kind of got a change of scenery at Liberty for 1 year last year. Sounds like he's got 2 years of eligibility left, so it's not a one and done type of deal with him. So you can probably safely slot him somewhere in the 2 deep, maybe even 3 deep if you get there. But as you guys all know, you have to have at least a minimum of 6 defensive tackles that you can go to without having much drop off from defensive tackle 1 to defensive tackle 6. Because those guys only have so many snaps where they're going to be able to play at their peak potential. So getting a guy like Dre Butler in here, where at worst he's going to be on your second string defensive line or defensive tackles, maybe even third. But at Michigan State, with what they have going, being in that third unit, it's not a knock. It's just kind of a talent, where the talent level is at right now. With Michigan State, with Marco Coleman and Brandon Jordan, kind of changing what a defensive lineman at Michigan State looks like.
That's a great point that you bring up there, Corey. You know, you talk about what Coach Jordan and Marco Coleman are bringing in for the defense. And you mentioned the arm length and, you know, the height with them. Is that, you know, for the specific pass rush techniques and everything like that? Does that play a factor now that we have Coach Jordan on the staff? Are we going to start seeing, you know, more of those leaner, more athletic D linemen as opposed to the girthier ones?
I mean, they're almost getting the best of both worlds with it because these guys are huge, but they just move like they're leaner. And that goes back to, you know, the long arms and long limbs. It's just you're more athletic, even though, like, if you go look at Dre Butler or you look at Jarrett Jackson, who they signed earlier today, a Florida State transfer, like that guy's 6'5", 300 pounds, 310 pounds, and he just looks absolutely massive. He looks bigger than that, but at the same point, he's that lean big. So they're definitely kind of going with like that NFL model body type, which makes sense because Brandon Jordan has spent his whole career up until arriving at Michigan State training NFL defensive linemen, so he knows what they look like physically, and that's kind of what he's doing is he's taking that body type with those attributes that he picks up with on the guys he's training. Now you're bringing those guys to Michigan State and seeing if you can pull out their maximum potential while they're here.
All right, man. I mean, we're getting deep into this, and then this is not Mr. Irrelevant as they have it in the NFL draft, but I think the last pick is in for the 2023 class. The last signing, transfer out of Texas A&M, Tunamise Adelaide. How about that? It's better than what Coach Tucker did earlier. Got you, Coach.
Got him.
From
I mean,
Katy, Texas.
Yeah, and this I mean,
if
this
you
is
ever want to go, if you go to Katy, Texas, and I'll be there in February for my cousin's wedding. This is place, Moe's Place. All right.
Here we go.
How does this? I mean, this man is
Moe's Place. It doesn't matter where in the country.
I'm convinced.
Choo-choo knows. What is it? A restaurant or is it a bar? Talk to it.
It's a bar restaurant. They have different concerts there, country concerts. Some of the best line dancing you can do is there. You know, you see, I got the boots. I got, you know, shining them up.
Those boots weren't made for walking.
So now we know when Choo-Choo was in the car earlier during the live episode of This Is Sparta, he was dropping off not a bag, but probably some cowboy boots in a hat or something. That's why we got Tunamise. Is that what it was, Choo-Choo?
I wish I could take credit. I wish I could say, one day shined the boots, brought the horses and, some cattle in town to make them feel welcome. But, I'm glad he's in East Lansing. It's going to definitely add some depth to, the team. And, I know we're going to break the entire class down and then, give our take on it at the end there. But I'm really excited about this class and the way that it's shaping out to be.
Corey, former 5-star, right? This is a 5-star guy.
Yeah, I think with him, he was 4 spots out from being a 5-star with us, but still pretty good, I guess.
Take us high bar. I guess.
I think.
How do you get to that level of like you're 4 spots away from?
I believe they have 34 or 35 5-stars at 24/7. That they kind of designate that for, and he was 39 with us, so he was right on the cusp of 5-star with us. I think some other sites did have him as a 5-star, but I mean, either way, that's just splitting hairs at that point. He had every offer in the country. Went to Texas A&M, who is known for recruiting pretty well the last few years. He's the kind of that guy that, when we were sitting there seeing how this class was starting to take shape and everything was going as planned, Toon Mice and Keyshawn Blackstock, the offensive lineman, were kind of the 2 guys, one on each side, that takes a class from being really good to great. And he's the guy I think you you can pencil him in as a starter somewhere on the defensive line. There's not too many guys his size, 6'5", 6'4", 295 pounds that can play defensive end, but he's athletic and sudden enough to do that. He's kind of similar to, in the same ways that Lawrence Thomas, the former Michigan State defensive lineman, played with the Jets in the NFL.
Ooh, I haven't heard LT name in a minute. I saw him this past summer. Okay.
Yeah, just like one of those freak athletes that aren't supposed to be as fast as he is at that size. I think personally he's probably best at defensive tackle, but he's a guy that you can put outside. So if you play a team like Michigan, Iowa, Indiana, who is never going to throw with that quarterback, then you just put him at defensive end all day in my book. Where then if you go play a team that's not as physical and trying to pass it around like Ohio State or some of those other teams, that's when I'd slide him inside and just have him go get the quarterback from over center.
Corey, here's an important question. Will he be a game changer in getting to Michael Penix Jr. when Washington comes to town? That's a real important question, because we didn't get home one bit this season or this game this time. So can he get there? That's all I want to know.
Yeah, I think all three of the defensive tackles that they got out of the transfer portal today are all you guys know what the SEC defensive tackle is, where it's just a different type of body and athleticism. I think they're going to overwhelm a lot of offensive linemen up here just because they're not used to seeing that size and speed kind of burst. So hopefully, and then with Penix being like 37 or 38 years old, maybe one hit will force him into going and getting a real job instead of hanging in college for his whole life.
I know. He has been playing at Spartan Stadium for the last decade, I know. So he comes back after his stint at Indiana now with the Huskies. So, yeah, guys, I mean, you got some link there. Now, Corey, when you look at this class, and we've gone through all the signees for this class, who in your mind is the star skill player that you can see that's going to make an impact early at Michigan State?
Yes, for offense, I'm thinking Jalen Smith, the wide receiver out of Texas. He kind of blew up out of nowhere. You turn on his tape, and you just see it like a great athlete. Has good size. He's kind of a thicker built wide receiver, but a lot of yards after catch. Plays quarterback for his team too a little bit. So maybe there will be some new wrinkles that they can put in there where they can shelf the flea flicker in favor of the wide receiver pass or whatever with him, because he does actually have a pretty good throwing arm and he's a good athlete. Talking with Jack Ebling, he said he reminded him a lot of Devin Thomas, and once he said that name kind of made a lot of sense with the same body type and athleticism and just his ability to make plays. And then Chenault, the Colorado wide receiver, that's who our Texas guy Gabe Brooks is comparing them to, where he saw Chenault a lot of times in high school and through college and all that. So that just kind of speaks, if you get those two comparisons from people that have seen a lot of football, that just speaks to kind of the athleticism and the body type that he's bringing to the table.
But when you said he reminds you of Devin Thomas there, I had to laugh a little bit because Devin could not throw. So hopefully it's with, the athletic, the speed, the build and everything, and the hands, because I remember we played out Wisconsin and we ran a wide receiver pass, and it was called Old Brown Shoe. What's the name of the play from the previous regime? It was John Elton Baldwin's call. It's called Old Brown Shoe, and then Coach D came in and changed it to New White Sneaker. And we were at Wisconsin, and he throws that ball, and someone on the sideline goes, "Why is he throwing it with his left hand?" And because that ball was terrible, and then someone's like, "Because he's left-handed."
Well, definitely have him beat in that category.
Yeah.
Right. Earlier, I thought from film, like some of those highlights reminded me of Jaden Reed. and how he has the speed to like go home run, and he also has the capabilities of being real shifty, but he's not wasting time going sideline to sideline. He's gradually going north-south. So I thought the comparison was like, hey, we had a guy who was just in the same shoes that had the same body type, more so speed. But like we said, Houston, man, they just burn rubber down there because they can run.
Yeah, I think both of those guys, both wide receivers, Jalen Smith and Isaiah Johnson, are both, they're both bigger. I think they're both around 6'2" or so, and then kind of thicker upper bodies for wide receivers. And watching both of their tapes, like the first couple times you'd watch it, you're like, it almost looked like they weren't moving that fast, but yet they were running away from everybody. So that's kind of that long strider where it's hard to explain. Like, you guys would know it because you've watched a lot of film, where you watch a guy on film and you're just like, oh, he doesn't look that fast. And then you see him up in person, or you start noticing all of the defensive backs that are all of a sudden going from looking like they have an angle to being 5 yards grabbing air. So it's both of those there.
How's that go, Otis?
It's the fingertip grab. You're like, ah!
So, Corey, with these offensive guys that we just talked about, which one do you think is going to come in and make an immediate impact?
I think on offense, I think Jalen Barbarin is going to in some way, whether that's on special teams, because I think you put him at punt returner and one of the kick returner spots day one. He's just got that 10.37 speed, which is not something we have here. So like, you get that, and then on offense, he's a guy that you go put out in space and just let him make plays. I think he'll see the field quite early here.
Mm.
You look at him in his national ranking; he's not even listed as in the national rankings. He's well into the thousands. When you talk about his rating, but he's a guy that you can see based on his speed and ability that he'll have an immediate impact. Why do you think guys like that slip through the cracks as far as recruiting services? I mean, you guys do a phenomenal job. I think you got a lot better at it, but how does a guy like that not rank higher than in the 1000s?
For him specifically, he played at Simi Valley High School in Simi Valley, California, up until his senior season, and they were using him as a wide receiver and on defense and all of that, where he transferred to Chaminade, I believe, his senior season, and they moved him immediately to running back, which makes a lot of sense because he's kind of a 5'8" running back with really thick thighs and all that. As I beat my cat out of
the That was smooth. That was smooth how you did that, Corey.
But well, anything happens live, right?
Right.
But I think he just went to the right position and got utilized correctly. So there's a great move on him to recognize that maybe he wasn't being used properly, went to a new school and got the position he was meant for and kind of took off. And then at that where they're playing, that's the top competition in California. So absolutely a good find by Ephraim Reed, the running backs coach.
Wow, you hear that, guy? So that's interesting. You talk about a kid in high school transferring to a different school that makes him, I guess, showcases his skill set a lot better so that he's able to be picked up in the Power 5. I mean, changes the complete course of this kid's career because he goes to another high school and is, I guess, showcase his skills in a different way. A lot like what's going on in the college ranks with this transfer portal. But not every state allows for kids to do transfers like that. So that's it. Very interesting to me, guys. What do you think about that, Jehuu?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, putting yourself in the best position to be successful. And I think he realized where his calling, was going to be, where his passion was. And him and his family had to make the decision to do what was best for them. Obviously it was the right decision because he is picked up and got a scholarship from a Power 5 school. So, definitely, it's it's a new wave of football. It's new, with all that's going around. People are investing in themselves. Parents are investing in their kids. The athletes at that level are investing in themselves and making the commitment to do those things, and it paid off in this point. Can we? I want to talk to Corey real quick before we jump to the defensive. Like, can you break down my boy Nathan Carter?
Mr. Carter.
Yeah, I think he's a sneaky pickup. A lot of people take the quick glance at his stats and they don't realize that he got hurt early in Game 4 against Michigan. But he went through 3 games. He had 386 rushing yards, which was towards the top of the country. So yeah, he's a productive guy. He's not going to run away from people. Sort of like Jalen Berger, who you have now. He's probably a little more shiftier, maybe a little bit better vision than Jalen Berger has, but comparable is just that the fact that they're not going to necessarily run away from guys, but they reads his blocks well, can make some guys miss, and he runs with power. So yeah, I think he's going to be better than what people think he's going to be. He's not going to be Kenneth Walker. Obviously, there's not too many of them, and he just doesn't have that breakaway speed, but I think he's a really strong addition to the team, and he'll probably do well with the remade offensive line, I think, with a guy like Blackstock at one of the tackle positions where he's a very good run blocker.
Mm-hmm. Coach Tucker talked about in his press conference today that this kid is a 4.42 kid, Nathan Carter, in the running back. I didn't know he was that fast.
I haven't seen a ton of film on him. I didn't think he was that fast, and maybe he took the numbers a little bit. But,
no, I saw it at the prospect camp in high school.
JU was the one time. JU had that stopwatch.
I did not. I was
that
there.
hometown stopwatch.
That's that look where you be like,
man,
right.
But I do think he's going to be better than a lot of people are thinking because they say UConn. But I mean, if you're a good running back at UConn, then that tells you how good you are.
Right.
So. The question is, does he have great hands? Because, I think that's where, not say we were only person that will come in there truly catch it and make something happen was Elijah Collins. But, from a standpoint of, does he have great hands to be able to kind of be a multi-dimensional running back, not just being lined up in the backfield? Because we need someone of that yin and that yang. And look, I played offense in high school, but I wasn't in the college ranks and I wasn't a Jehuu Caulcrick or a Javon Ringer. But I was like, you got to be able to do something besides getting the ball from the quarterback exchange. So that's really a true question of, can he come in and do that for us and help that running back room?
That's a great point, Otis. It's key that in today's day and age, I know there's a lot of running backs by committee, but you can really set yourself apart if you're an every down back. And when Kenneth Walker was here, he was an every down back. He's a guy that could catch the ball out of the backfield. He's the guy that can run the ball from the gun, from underneath, all different types of stuff. So that's what he has to, all these backs here have to develop in the offseason and if you're a high school back or anything like that, catch the football, be a good pass protector. The toughest thing for a running back coming out of high school and playing at the next level is playing without the ball in your hands. That's the toughest thing for a running back, because if you're in high school, you're the man, you get the ball, 80% of the times. Now it's reading protection, blocking, going out on screens, catching the ball, running routes and catching the ball. So, he has to develop that so he doesn't become a one-dimensional back. So every time that a back's in, the defense is like, okay, it's a run because he's in.
This is true.
I mean, listen, we can't go to the defensive side until we discuss Stanton Ramil, and
gotta talk about him.
I've from what we've been seeing, hearing, feeling, whatever, that this kid is a game changer, playmaker for us, key guy. But Corey, I mean, break it down from a guy coming from the dirty South in Alabama all the way up to the northern Michigan, mid-Michigan. You have to give kudos and credit to our staff on truly winning him and selling him on our future of our program.
You're on silent.
Oh yeah, you're on mute though. Corey, can you hear us? I try to unmute. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, so he's from originally he's from New York area, I believe. So he's kind of
used to it.
So he's kind of used to up here, but he's been down in Alabama for a couple of years. Got way better competition where he went at Tompkins. They've won state championship 4 times in a row. They play some national teams outside of the state. So really good coaching there. Is in terms of the impact. I mean, I think he's the highest rated offensive tackle Michigan State's gotten in 13 years or something like that. Something crazy, over a decade.
Wow.
So yeah, and to me, I think we have him at 196 or 194, and he's one of the guys that I get in people's ears at 24/7 Sports and saying, hey, he needs to be higher, because I think he's better than 196 even, which is a testament to him, because 196 is pretty good in the entire country. But yeah, 6'7", 310. He's a guy that I think Mel Tucker alluded to at his press conference is a guy that could see the field early. Maybe this year just gets his feet wet, kind of gets a feel for the college game, and then next year maybe takes that big leap forward. But yeah, I guess it all depends on what he does, but he's coming up in January, so he's going to have winter conditioning. He's going to have spring ball, get the technique down, because there is an adjustment from, even if you're playing good high school football, it's not college football. Right. So I mean, but they don't necessarily need him to play this year, which is a good problem to have finally, but he's a guy that might be good enough. Because I mean, if you look at the offensive tackles now, because I know, Jason, you sit there in the press box, you watch the offensive line, even in the good D'Antonio years, the size and what they inherited here. Now you're looking at the starters last year were Spencer Brown, who's 6'6", Brandon Baldwin, 6'7", Ashton Lepo, 6'8", a true freshman last year, who's coming on. Braden Miller, 6'6", true freshman last year, who's going to play this year. Like, I know he's going to. He's really good. I think people sometimes forget about those 22s when you hit the next class. And then, like we mentioned, Stanton Ramil, 6'7". Keyshawn Blackstock is 6'5" as the small guy on the thing now. But it's like just how quickly the size. I mean, I don't know the last time Michigan State has had 8 offensive tackles about 6'5" or above, and most of them above.
Right. So was the last highly rated O-lineman we had Roland Martin, or?
It might have been David Barrett, who never played.
Oh, okay.
I was going to go way back with like Flozell.
But he was like one that
Jason Strayhorn,
because he got like a back injury his freshman year and never got to see him. But he was supposed to be a really good one. But
no, he said 13 years, not like 30 years, guys. So it's
hey, man, I mean, look, Flozell is the biggest man I've ever
at our age. 13 years feels like it's still the 90s.
Tony in the back there said Dobbs.
Yeah. He dropped a little though on the final rankings, and he wasn't a tackle; he was an interior guy. So
okay.
Yeah, and the thing that I like a lot about a guy like this, in his development, is the fact that he's going to be able to play against some top-notch defensive guys that we're going to get into here in a moment. But that's definitely going to sharpen the iron, as we always talk about iron sharpening iron, and having guys competitively going at it in the offensive line room. You're going to have J.D. DePlane and Nick Samac. Those two guys are coming back per Mel Tucker in his press conference today, which is good to solidify that interior offensive line, because those are the guys who communicate and tell guys where to be and get them lined up. But you have that athletic, long link, that talent on the outside. You're going to see what happens, with Baldwin. Is he going to play left? Are they going to have, Blackstock come in? Is he going to play a tackle position? Is that going to happen? So where you have depth now, true depth. So if there is an injury, which is pretty common, you got guys like Spencer Brown who played right tackle, who's eligible to come back. He has another year, I believe, of eligibility. Does he kick inside to a guard? Does he prove himself as a right tackle? And he played Black Sock as a guard. I don't know. There's a lot of options you have now if you're Coach Cap sitting in that offensive line room, and then you get to see them go against NFL-sized defensive players on a daily basis, which only makes them better for Big Ten play, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, say Mac and JD Duplain, they probably have their jobs sewn up. He's not going to tell the guys that because he wants everybody to work and get it. But I think left tackle, and right guard is completely open, and guys are going to earn it. Like how you guys were talking about Will Golston earlier, how he mentioned that's where it gets to. That's where this offensive line has gotten to now, where those 22s are all, a year into the program. They're all ahead of the curve. They all are more physically impressive than a lot of the guys that were here previously. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who the starting five is next year.
All right. It's going to be interesting. Now we got to go talk about the defense side of the ball, where Otis is going to get excited now. We got players over there. So in your mind, Corey, who do you see as this star, the crown jewel of the defensive side? But before we get into that, this message from our friends over at IHOP.
'Twas a wintry day, and at IHOP quite soon, hot cinnamon apples would be coaxed with a spoon on the fluffiest French toast with red currants on top. We wish you a happy holiday, only at IHOP. New Ginger Snap Apple French Toast, part of our new holiday menu. Try all 3 flavors.
All right. Let's get back at it.
Almost wanted to do it twice. Yeah, I'm
Marvin.
Marvin.
Twice is nice.
Towards the nice buttery winter pancakes.
Hey, Otis, man, you had some nice digs there, man. Like, what are you? It's a sprinter. Where are you at?
Yeah,
hanging out at the Breslin?
Yeah, so I had to do a tour of Breslin for one of our corporate partners, and then I'm with the L&K Electric, the Smiths, in their sprinter van. Their Wi-Fi is stronger than all our Wi-Fi combined, man. I was like, I've had no hiccups, no issues. This is the future of our radio road tour show vehicle. So, I'm just trying to work out magic, man, work out some partnerships, and, hopefully we'll be able to celebrate at the end of the night when seal the deal. Let's just get it right, man.
Get after it. Get me in that van.
It ain't right without Choo-Choo in the van. Again, we got to bring the 247 boys out there on the road show, too, for a game or two. How about
Absolutely.
that? You see that?
Absolutely.
I think so. But
bathrooms?
I think I just made it. I just looked at my phone, and I made a post about Jalen Barbron earlier. He wore a Magic Johnson Michigan State jersey for his signing day. And Magic Johnson just quote tweeted me, so I think I just made it big time.
You're in.
Oh, you have made it. We're not worthy.
Be like, I just made it, guys.
Yeah,
moving
that's
up
right.
to C-list celebrity.
Mama made it.
Some of those billions gonna rub off on you now, brother. That is great. But in all seriousness, though, this defensive class is pretty stellar. We talked a little bit about the defensive linemen. But like in your mind, who is that crown jewel guy that's going to be able to come in and make an immediate impact on the defensive side of the ball, Corey?
I think it's hard to give one guy that title. I think by Job, he's the freak athlete. I think he's up to 230 now. Be a stand-up pass rusher as a freshman, kind of get a little bit stronger still, but he's another guy that's coming in January, so he's got the winter conditioning spring. So I think he's a guy I'm passing down so that you stand him up and have him go get it. I think he's got some of the best athleticism and freak ability of anybody, regardless of position in the class. And he's with a perfect guy, Brandon Jordan, to kind of take all of that God-given ability and put some technique behind it. And then Andrew DePape Like I think he's someone that, like, when I watch his film, like I think he's 100 something in the country with us, but I think he does everything that I look for when it comes to translating at the next level. He's got great bend in his ankles, plus can kind of manipulate the shoulders too while he's doing it. He learned a lot of pass rush moves from Brandon Jordan, who kind of gave pointers to all of his guys, even though they hadn't signed yet, which not all coaches do that. Some of them like to hold on to their info until they sign the paper, where Jordan just wants guys to get better. So he gave those guys some tools. So I think those two are who I expect to play. And then Jordan Hall, the IMG linebacker, would be somebody that I think will play as a freshman. I don't know, with Cal Halliday, the Big Ten's leading tackler, back at the Mike linebacker spot. Obviously, that's his spot. So I think it'll be more backup, get your feet wet. But I know Jason knows Jordan very well. He's a very intelligent linebacker. He's going to be a future captain type of guy, where he just leads the team and understands defenses and what offenses they're trying to do. So I think those three kind of stick out immediately to me.
I mean, I can see, like, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but, I can see what the type of athletes that we have coming in. And I think there's a lot of guys on the defensive side that can make an immediate impact there. Do you think Coach Hazelton could, change up the scheme a little bit, play a little more 4-3 or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, if he listened to me, he probably would have done that a little more already, especially the Indiana game. But yeah, I think you were seeing the defense evolve, but then with all those injuries, that kind of halted some of this stuff. Like, I thought in game one, before Darius Snow got hurt, I thought we were seeing some kind of different looks where you're bringing the safety Henderson to the line and dropping someone back. So, and then they kind of had to change it up once the personnel changed, when you had the injury to Henderson and Snow, and then the entire defensive end room out from injuries or suspensions. So I don't think we got to see the fullback that we were going to see unleashed last year. But at the same point, we did start to see them mix in more 4-3. And then put a sixth defensive back out there sometimes. So I think we saw some different things. That just kind of came down to where the depth was at, and we were kind of stuck with a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think from a standpoint of, Jay, you talked about 4-3 defense and seeing more. Listen, it don't matter what defense we're running. We just got to get home, and we gotta have all three levels on one accord. And I think that's where, some of these guys coming in this class can add an element of some, I say, security, or just some clarity of that we will at least put some pressure on the quarterback, and he's not sitting back there just pickpocketing us around. And so I think that's an opportunity to showcase of Coach Hazelton, where Wisconsin, you saw some good calls that he drew up to put some good pressure on that quarterback, and to just get him really rattled and start making mistakes. And, I think that's the part of consistency coming across each game in the season, where there was times where we just never even touched the quarterback. So
yeah, and he had all day a lot of those games once, especially after the suspensions, because then it was completely wiped out. You had Zion Young, Winman, then you already had Petrowski and Chris Bogle missed pretty much the entire season with injuries. So I thought you saw a drop off, especially once those guys were gone, where, there's literally times where it felt like the quarterback had like 8-9 seconds of not even having to move
right
to get the ball out. And like, you don't matter how good of a defensive back you are, if the quarterback can be that comfortable, that's not all right. So
you need, can't go longer than 3.5, 4 seconds.
Right.
Like,
right. That bull riding.
No.
But yeah, I mean, getting Bogle back, like I think he was one of the best players on the team. He got injured in that Minnesota game and he was really starting to take a step. I think he was one of the few guys that did play well against Minnesota up until his injury. And then Petrowski, he never really got to play. And at this point now with the talent he brought in, he might not have to be like a second or third string type of defensive lineman unless he blows up. But yeah, I think you're going to see more pressure this year with all the additions that they brought in that we've talked about, but also just the additions of getting Bogle and Petrowski and Zion Young back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
Corey,
to see Bogle, man. Like Bogle and all those guys right next to a guy like the Adelaide, the new kid from Texas A&M. Like that's going to be a dynamic, deep defensive line room if you think about it. I mean, and you got guys like Harmon playing next to guys like Jared Jackson from Florida State. You got, I mean, there's a lot of upside that I see now. Like Michigan State on the defensive line clearly got stacked, in my opinion. It's going to be one of the toughest defensive lines to deal with in the Big 10.
You're absolutely right, Jason. And I think those guys are going to be hungry on that defensive line because what I think is going to happen is I think you're going to have guys pushing each other, on the field because it's going to be that anything you can do, I can do better kind of mentality that's going in there. And if you can't keep up, you're going to be left behind. Coach Stoutland used to always say, hungry dogs run faster. And I think this year that defensive line is going to be hungry and they're going to be ready to hunt.
No doubt.
Yeah, no doubt on that one. I think, one of the things that we're losing, I mean, people got to understand, like, we only bring in one starter back in the secondary, and that's Chuck Brantley. And so out of these guys that are in this class, Corey, who do you see as a DB that can make the transition? Because it is a big jump, coming from high school, even if you're just 1 year, even transfer portal, it's a big jump to go into having to learn a whole entire new system. But who out of this class and the DBs do you see has the most upside to make an impact, even if it's just coming in as a nickel back, but not fully starting? But like, who do you see as the best person for us to make an immediate impact?
If someone had to go in, I think it would be Chance Rucker, just because he plays a good competition. He's a well put together physical kid. So I think if he was there, and then, I mean, the 22 class, I think the defensive back class and the wide receiver class was the two strengths of that one. So now you're going to see like Jaden Mangum, who got some starts I think would be my bet to be the free safety. I think Caleb Coley, a 22, he battled injuries. If he can stay healthy this offseason, he's a very talented player. And then even Malcolm Jones, who got kind of swept up in the suspension, even though there's never any video proof of him doing anything. So he was the first one to get dropped and with everything. He's a guy that I think out of Lee County, Georgia, could be a player. So I think that's more of a case of you go back to that 22, and I think you find some answers there. And then I don't think they're done with the transfer portal. They've added Samar Melvin from Wisconsin. I think I haven't got to see a ton of him because he didn't play a lot at Wisconsin. I think he might be more a depth type of guy, but we'll see, I guess, once he gets here and competes. But I think for me, I think they're going to add some more to the defensive backs through the transfer portal, whether that I think you'll probably see a safety that Mel kind of alluded to as much as he could today. Reggie Pearson is a name to keep an eye on. He played at Wisconsin and Texas Tech, is a very good player. If they were able to get him, I think you can write his name in pen as a starter. He's that good. Mm-hmm. And then maybe go find a corner or two in the transfer portal still, because today's not the end of it. We still got time to find some guys.
Oh, it's still going on. You got guys like Dylan Tatum who was in that
21.
Tatum another 21 for you, man.
Man, I mean, I remember talking to him. I was like, one, you get thrown into the wolves, and you got to play corner because Chuck was hurt and didn't travel the squad at Penn State, but like he held his own as much as he could on the outside edge, and he is a kid who, one, coming out of high school, was a running back right behind Donovan Edwards, and and then being able to transfer over to this defensive side. I think he likes to hit too, man. So hopefully he gets some burn and like maybe get him into that nickel back little realm and then get him to playing some more safety and get some more reps out there. But springtime this season, off season, is huge for him to take that next step and put his name in the depth chart, solidifying it.
Definitely. And then Malik Spencer, I forgot to mention him too.
Yeah, that's the kid.
He's legit.
That's
I think he's gonna start at the box safety or whatever, nickel corner, whatever they want to call it.
Oh, so I honestly thought they had him pinged for just being outside linebacker fully, but no, he's a strong safety.
Yeah, that little box safety.
That little box. Yeah.
But I mean, he probably could go down into that will linebacker spot if that's where the talent takes you, because they do need to get faster at linebacker, I think. But he's a guy that I could definitely see taking over that nickel or box safety type of position, because I thought he flashed a lot of potential as a true freshman. He missed the beginning of the year with injury, and he came back towards the end of the year and was very good. So him and Mangum, Tatum, Malcolm Jones, and Caleb Coley are all guys that were really talented in the previous class that could really make a rush or a run for some playing time and starting jobs.
Nice. I want to go with an overarching view of everything here, because the people have been on me asking me, the people want to know, do we have an answer? Is Jonathan Kim the answer for the kicking position? Corey, is he a guy that's going to get it done for the Spartans this year? I mean, look at that face. Almost a face of mother with love.
Oh, it's a baby face still, man. He's a transfer. He's still got a baby face.
He's going to make kickoffs boring because his percentage of kickoffs out of the end zone with no returns is like insane. It's one of the best ones in the country. So that's going to get boring, which we need, as we learned watching that Indiana game. So he'll definitely do that. I can't speak on him as a field goal kicker because North Carolina had a very good field goal kicker in front of him that never lost the job. But Mac Brown, he gave him a lot of high praise when he entered the transfer portal. So I mean, he's got the leg, but until we see it, I can't really speak on his field goals. I didn't get privy to the same tape that the coaches get to see, where those guys can go out there and kick for him and do all of that other stuff and show their practice tape and all that stuff. So I'm not sure what he is as a field goal kicker.
Yeah, that North Carolina had a good kicker till they needed him in the championship game there when he lost it for them. But
they should have went with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Him is him.
Him is him.
Question for you though, Corey. For on the offensive side of the ball, the guy, the one that makes everything go, the quarterback position there. We have a new guy coming, a 4-star flip, Sam Levitt coming in. Is he a guy? Is he ready right now, or is he someone that has to sit back a year?
Yeah, he's really talented, but I would assume that he would, coming in the spring, or not spring, but I guess summer they call it, he would be too far behind the other guys just because everybody else, Thorns had quite a few years in the system, 2+ as a starter. Caton Hauser, who I think is extremely talented, is going to now have a whole whole year under his belt plus a season. And then Noah Kim has been here for a few years. So I think that's probably too much to expect from Leavitt year one.
So he's not coming in January. He's coming in the summer.
Yeah. He's coming in later. So I think that would probably shrink any chance that he had. But
Yeah.
Honestly, and that's nothing against his talent, because I do think he's very good. It's just having a whole year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in the system is a huge advantage.
Yeah, without question. And, to stay in with that offensive side of the ball, I'd be remiss. We did not mention, we talked about Jaden Manningham. It's his brother who is also going to be joining him. Jaron, I believe, on the offensive side of the ball, is a running back. He originally signed with Colorado and Mel Tucker a couple of years back, then transferred to South Florida. Looks like he's now transferring to East Lansing. So he's back with his old coach and little brother.
Yeah, I like that pickup just because, if nothing else, it brings them together, because they've never played together, and they're very, a lot of siblings are close. Those guys are probably closer than most. They're really, really close. So to be able to play together is huge for those two and the family, and they're a really good family. I think as far as his on-field production, he's probably like Jehuu, where when you need that 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 or goal line, that's who you bring in. He's got, I believe, 23 touchdowns in his career. He's not going to break anything too big, but he can pick up the tough yards. So
oh man!
Got somebody that's going to challenge the Tutty record.
Yeah,
the choo-choo.
Saw that smile. He was like, "No, don't do it, don't do it."
But yeah, I would say that's kind of what fans could expect, is a Caulcrick, where when everybody in the stadium knows you're running, that he's pretty good at 6'2", 232, 235 pounds at getting low and moving the pile.
That's great. We welcome that. We will welcome that to East Lansing, and that's Big 10 football, especially when it gets to, November, December play there, when it's cold. DBs don't want to make that tackle. Their hands are getting cold. You see it in their eyes.
That's what you think.
Otis. Yeah, see, there he goes, Trey.
That's what you think. Hey, look, you get to have strong knees and strong legs, because we're coming after those thigh boards and those shins for sure. But no, I think to the point of we're gonna see in the future, and I think Corey maybe can attest to this, but our tight ends, we're gonna have at least 3 tight ends every class, because I feel like we legit got 25 tight ends right now on the roster. And so, Corey, I guess we know they're a focal point. They like to, Jay Johnson likes our tight ends to block and be very versatile in the offensive game, passing game too. But talk about the many tight ends that we have already on the roster, but also who we're bringing in to kind of elevate that room. And, I feel like it's a committee, tight end by committee, when it comes to our offensive threats. Op, you on mute again? Let me get some off here.
Brennan Parachek, the 2023 tight end. I think he's one of the best tight ends Michigan State's brought in a long time. I think we haven't had the production that you would like to see out of Michigan State at the tight end position since probably Josiah Price, which is 2015, 2016. Somewhere way too long for a tight end to not be a weapon. I think Parachek's the guy that's going to get there, where maybe this year he comes in January too. So I guess we'll see how strong he gets, how much weight he adds, or, gets stronger, all that, whether he plays this year a lot. But he could be a guy that you could slot out as a freshman and kind of take advantage of his size and athleticism at 6'6". I think he's 235, 240, real long arms again. I like him a lot, especially for the future. And then, the portal was pretty crazy. They brought in, I think, 3 guys. And
what's the breakdown
Hopper.
of this kid?
I like Hopper. He's small.
Like Hopper?
He's a lot like almost like Connor Hayward, where he's a smaller guy, but he can block well, which they need. And then he's pretty good threat catching the ball. His tape looked good.
Will they use him as an H-back kind of guy?
Yeah, I think you can do a lot of stuff with him, like you did with Connor. And then there's Filet. Norfolk State didn't really throw the ball, so he only had 4 catches last year. But as a team,
only
Norfolk
4
State only
catches?
had 9 catches from the whole tight end position, so he had about half of them. But he's 6'7", like a legit 6'7" with long arms, and he's fast and fluid. Like I think he's actually faster and more fluid than Malik Carr. Malik Carr is bigger than him physically, though, so we'll see how that goes. And then the other one, I'm trying to think of who it was. They got hit with so many of them. Jalen Franklin. I don't think they announced that one yet because like they alluded to him, but it's something with some paperwork or something. Where he was at Wisconsin, and again, just good size, but not.
Hey, we got to blame UPS and Express.
Yeah,
hey, they ain't using. They need to be using FedEx, man.
But yeah, and then I mean, you got the 22 class. You had Jack Nickel out of Georgia, who was a really good player, I thought, and then Michael Masunis. So those guys could factor in too. And then obviously you got Malik Carr back. So yes, they've got bodies now, I guess. So we'll see.
Malik Carr
who runs with it.
Gloves on too.
I mean, look. I mean, it's a different world. You look at the numbers. I know people are tracking, the scholarship players, versus the transfers, and then there's also walk-ons that are coming in. It's a whole nother added element to this because you're always monitoring that roster right now, Corey. So, talk about that. You look at, schools like the number one recruiting class right now is Alabama. They've got 27 signees. I think 10 5-stars. But you look at the Michigan State on the high school side, is that about 15 or 16? Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, I think 15 right now.
15
I think
10 transfers. So
see Michigan State add like 2 more maybe. In the high school ranks, if they get to 17, that's probably pretty in line with what they wanted anyways, just because they didn't have a ton of room. It's kind of always going to be a smaller class, but they took some home runs, hit on some of them, missed on some of them, just like even Alabama, as good as they are, they missed on guys they wanted to.
Hey, Pete, before we wrap this up, I just want to get from you, I'm going to put you on the spot here. With this class right now, what grade, letter grade would you give this class?
You talking to Corey?
Yeah, Corey.
Yeah. I was reading something from Pete. Yes, Corey.
You're talking about Pete, the producer. You're talking to Corey.
Yeah, Corey. What letter grade would you give this?
I think I'd give it a solid B. Because if you win in the trenches, then you win. Like in this defensive line class and the offensive line class, you got nine guys combined at those positions so far. I think you see another offensive tackle come in February, maybe in the 2023 class to make 4 offensive linemen coming in. But I mean, yeah, I think that's the strength of the class, and that's where you win football games. So if your 2 best units are there, and you could stack the defensive line class up against any defensive line in the country, if you include the transfer portals plus the 23s, and that stacks up. You look at the offensive line, Blackstock is pretty much going to start if he stays healthy and does what he needs to do. Stanton Ramil, like we mentioned him, he's probably the best on paper one that they've gotten in a very, very long time. And then Dellinger, I think he's kind of your future guy that could play center at Michigan State, guard. His brother plays down at LSU, so I think that's where I'd give it the B. I think just because you won in the trenches, you got your quarterback and stuff like that. So you got good wide receivers, good tight end.
Man, very good intel, Corey. We appreciate your time today. I know we've kept you a little bit longer than we thought, but definitely wanted to get some more insight into this class, which is a strong class, a great building block for the future of Michigan State football. Appreciate your time. Otis, I think that you're good. You're hanging out in the Breslau, about to go watch a little basketball, I believe.
Yeah.
In East Lansing.
It's the Rocket Watts reunion, man. We got to go see what he's doing right now.
Go check him out. Check him out. And Jehuu, again, is on assignment again. He had to leave us to go get another 5-star and get some bags. I don't know, cowboy boots, side of beef, or just straight up whatever bag he likes to bring. So for everybody else, this is Sparta. I'm Jason Strayhorn. We will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on this same channel. So stay tuned. Have a good night. God bless, and go green.
Go White.
This is Sparta MSU as a combined presentation of Playfly Sports Properties and Michigan State Sports Properties. The show is produced by Pete Menez with additional support from Tony Costella. Operations and social media support is provided by Alicia Strayhorn with support from Cecily Max Brown. On-location technical support is provided by Good Fruit Video. Be sure to follow our hosts Jason Strayhorn, Jehuu Caulcrick, and Otis Wiley on social media. To stay up to date with all the latest This is Sparta News, please like and subscribe by visiting our link tree and tell a friend to do the same. Thank you for your support, and as always, go green.